lean sources of protein, I just want to point out to people that a lot of times your fat calories, I'm not into calories. I don't like to count anything, but I do think that people there always want a recommendation of some sort. And what I've noticed, and I think what you observed and you told me was, if you're trying to get really lean, 5 to 10% fats is probably where you're going to land. So if somebody has 4,000 calories in a day, they might
Well,
end up with around 40 grams of
not
fat
necessarily.
just via the amount of meat that they ate.
Yeah, I can do the math on that. Well, it's actually what happens is with those bodybuilders when the protein gets ramped up, the carbs end up coming down, and their fat percentage actually goes up. Only, but it doesn't matter because it's just because they're eating more lean meat, but the calories have dropped through the floor. So when Jay used to have these high days where he'd eat like 250 grams of protein and like 1,000 grams of carbs. Those days, his fat percentage was like
Mm,
2%. You see what I'm saying? But then his low day, and those days were also like 6,000 calorie days, so if you do the math, you got about 1,000 calories of protein there, and if he goes as high as 1,200 on the carbs, you're looking at, like fuck, like it's a 6,000 calorie day for him, or a little more on those
mhm.
high days. His medium day was about 300 grams of protein and about 5 to 700 grams of carbs. And I do the math on that. That's right around your 5% fat ish, very low. And then his low day, which was his rest days, and then you have more of these low days. A lot of these guys, when they get closer to the show, was 400 grams of protein and only 300 grams of carbs, but that only adds up to about it was about a 4,000 calorie day. So even though his fat, because if you take the chicken breast, for example, let's say you got, let's just say you got 600 calories worth of chicken breast, right? At 20%, at 20% fat, 100 calories of that is fat. Divided by 9 calories a gram, you're looking at like what? About 13, 14 grams. So about 13, 14 grams of fat and 600 calories of chicken breast, which would give you around about 150 grams of protein. So you see what I'm saying? So the fat percent would actually go up slightly when they get the calories down because the carb calories dilute the fat out in a sense. So if you're on meat only, let's say you're only on chicken breast and that's it, your fat percent's going to be exactly what? 20% exact. Because chicken breast is 20%. So if you're just eating chicken breast and broccoli, you're at 20% fat, but you're getting ripped. But if we added in the same amount of calories where the carbs as that chicken breast had, now we just drop the fat down to 10%. If we add in like say 3 times the carbs as the protein, now we're at 5%. And that's why Jay's high day was so low on the fat. So
Mm.
that's just quick math for people. That's why we don't need to worry about any of that shit. You just chase the lean fucking meat. And the default, I noticed with those women in the late 80s, and I even mentioned Erin Stern, who's more modern. She follows a very good diet, and she was almost eating exactly the same as those late 80s bodybuilders, and she's lean year round. And it looked just eyeballing the food. And usually, if you're about 2 parts carbs to 1 part protein on the off season, just eating normal, they wouldn't even be counting anything. They just keep the fat rock bottom. They wouldn't even have to count shit. It's probably in their head, but they're not using a calorie count to restrict, right? But it'll work out about 5% fat. It is right around 5% fat year round. And so what I'm saying is when people get lean, if they're eating to satiety on the protein and getting in their carbs till they're done with the carbs, when they're lean, if they're not trying to get like stage lean, it'll work out to 5% ish, somewhere between 5 and 10% fat diet for sure. Just knocking no added fats to the diet other than what's in the lean meat. And so they don't have to worry about shit. Just chase the lean meat source. You don't got to get more aggressive than chicken breast, really. That's aggressive. Chicken breast is about the same fat as like round steak. I'll have round steak. I'll just trim the fat right off the edge. There's a little bit on the edge, but it's about the same percentages. The round steaks are about the same as the chicken because I know them bodybuilders usually when they get into their prep they cut the red meat right out, right? But then you get your lean fish. Your egg whites are obviously zero fat. You got your zero fat dairy products. There's so many meats out there I don't even know what they are. I just stick to the basics. But you know,
Yeah,
but that's what people need to do. They need to have like a good 3 meats in their back pocket that they trust. Okay, these are lean meats. Stick to those meats. Eat those till you're fucking full. Like I'm telling fat people, literally kill the hunger completely with the protein. Not like I ate some protein, but I'm still hungry. Like I mean, kill it, just like your coach told you, Mark. Fuck, that's the best advice. I fucking just came to that conclusion myself the other day. It's like just because I was like, get the protein in good amounts, but then I'm like, fuck that. Eat the protein till the hunger is gone. And then what'll happen is you're gonna have a sweet tooth sooner or later, and then you have like some fucking light carb or whatever, right? Or some maybe some carrots or blueberries or whatever. But you don't have to be that strict. If you're just trying to get to a wicked body weight, throw in some starch, but protein first. Protein, prioritize the protein. Even though, and a lot of people think when I say prioritize protein, they think, oh, now Cole's going low carb. Well, no, because when you get leaner, you're prioritizing the protein, but the carb count's always going to be higher, like where you're at right now. If you're just eating normal and chasing the protein in, your carb count grammage is always going to be higher than your protein count, because your protein count's only going to get so fucking high. Like you might end up having, let's just pretend you had a 300-gram protein day. So that's about, let's just call it 1,200 calories of protein, even though there's some fat there, just a little bit of fat. So you're only at 1,200 fucking calories. So Mark, you're like, say you're like a 3,000 calorie, 3,500 calorie guy. Even though you prioritize that protein to knock that protein switch out, you're fucking end up eating like fucking 1,000 calories with the fucking carbs, right? So you're prioritizing the protein doesn't mean it's going to be higher than the carb count, but it will be when you're fat. That's one thing. It's just a trend I saw. And it's funny because the fat people will almost end up eating intuitively, like the bodybuilders are eating against their will a little bit for the stage. The fat people will almost be eating like a bodybuilder when they're on like that last 4 weeks. Like something like Jay when he was at like, the protein is definitely higher in grams than the carbs. The fat people will gravitate towards a ratio that looks like that because they got so much fucking fat on them. I'm just seeing the patterns.
Yeah. I like shrimp a lot. I like scallops a lot. And sometimes when you go to restaurants, sometimes you can get a shrimp cocktail. It's like super easy.
Let's go to Bubba Gump's.
Just try to leverage these things. And then also canned stuff. You got canned chicken, and you have like tuna, and even pink salmon. I think it only has like 3 or 4 grams of fat.
Pink salmon's not bad. Like I try to get a fish in usually once a day. And the canned pink salmon, you're looking at like, I think 8 grams of fat in that can. But then you juggle it. It's like, okay, well, there's a little bit extra fat in that salmon, so I'll get a little more anal with my other fucking meat sources on the day, right? Like maybe I'll have like something that's leaner than maybe chicken. I might have some chicken breast, but something that's even leaner to counter. Like it's just, again, the food choices, right? But no one's getting fat eating canned, like even at that, you know what I mean? Like you're not getting fat eating that. It's lean. See, that's what people don't understand, though. When the fat's not in the diet, the metabolism stays hot. The fatty meat is shit. And as soon as, when these carnivore MD guys, when they fucking realize that, like now, but then you got to add other foods in. You can't just eat rabbit meat forever, because now it's not carnivore, right? Like it's fucking crazy bullshit.
What's interesting to me with this diet and some of the things you experienced when you were younger with like boxing and some of the training and some of the different things I've heard you talk about in your life, when you just go all in on something, it's amazing how little complication there is. And I think that some of what you're talking about here is probably like a little frustrating, maybe annoying to some other people in the fitness industry, because you're kind of eliminating their job. My dad always told me when I was young, if you can eliminate, like whatever job you have, if you can eliminate your own job, he's like, you'll make a lot of money. And he goes, if you can eliminate everybody else's job, you'll be able to even make more money. And I think a lot of what you're doing is you are kind of, because these coaches, I think they want to like have these tricky little things just to coach, just to have these nuanced things to I guess try to tweak. And they're like 70 grams of fat on this day, and this other day you're going to go 33 grams of fat. Then we're going to bring you back up to 100 because your metabolism is going to go nuts when we bring that up. And then we're going to switch back to this. And they got all these things. And I don't want to take away from the bodybuilding coaches out there, because I've only done one bodybuilding show. I don't know shit about bodybuilding. I don't have the experience that some of these guys do, but I do think they're tricking themselves. It's like you end up sort of faking yourself out and they probably have better results if they just went all in and said, you know what, forget about the fat. I just want to see what happens when I just get rid of it completely.
Yeah, that's what happened with the sugar fasting, because I was already at a lean body weight and I went like 7 fucking days with only on sugar. And so, you know, it gives you confidence how fucking hard you can push the body. And that's kind of what happened with me with the 0-calorie fasting. But obviously, what's that end up leading to? Fucking yo-yo dieting. And that's the problem. People are chronic yo-yo dieters. How many people have came to me and said, Cole, I watched your shit. Like all the people that promote fasting. It's like, I watched your shit and I lost this much weight, but they forget to add the part where, oh yeah, and I gained all the fucking weight back. Or I did carnivore and I lost some weight and gained it all back. Or even got worse health results after because their thyroid was all fucked up. You know, but you know, you're right. Like the funny thing is, that's kind of like my personality since forever. Is I always try to look for simple shit, and that's why I love this message. And I'll always be grateful that, you know, and you help, like, you know, you're blowing up that the sugar and stuff. But I'm telling you right now, like that led to the raw fucking dieting message, and no one can fuck with this. They can't fuck with it because the meatheads can't fuck with it. Because it's like, oh, what are you going to build muscle faster on a fucking carnivore diet versus eating chicken breast and starch? There's no fucking way. Look at the guy. Like, the highest, the body composition experts are the fucking old school bodybuilders, right? So they win there. And then you got the women in the late 80s that were bodybuilding and they're fucking staying lean year round. Same fucking diet. It's always the same diet. It's always the same diet. Just whatever your goal is, it's always a low fat diet. Whether maybe there'd be some guys that want to bulk. How many people could I help that are like these, a lot of these natural lifting community too? I see these young guys, and they're like promoting to other young guys that are skinny, right? They're like, just eat in bulk. And they're eating trash and they're fucking gaining all that bad weight. And they're literally slowing their fucking metabolism down like crazy, giving themselves bad sugar, bad glucose tolerance. And because it still takes some work. And it doesn't take much work if you eat like a dog. Just go buy a bag of fucking rice and bags of fucking, just go buy oatmeal, rice, potatoes, and fucking chicken breasts and eat. And you don't got to eat a million times a day. They're naturals. You know, the only reason those big guys had to force feed, and that's where that came from. The reason those guys had to force feed is because they had so much unnatural muscle on them that they had to eat unnaturally and force in like a crazy amount of food. Where nobody that's natural has to force feed like Jay was doing. They don't. They just got to eat their fucking, they do fine on 3 or 4 meal a day or 3 squares. Like, and if they're a big eater, perfect. They could even see wicked gains on a low fat, lean meat and starch on 2 meals if they fucking could just put food back. If that's their, you could argue that maybe the eating frequency being a bit higher or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? That's just preference, but the main message is fat rock the fuck bomb. You don't need a gram of fat added to that diet other than what's in that lean meat. And you always, if you're fat and you're really trying to lose weight, eat the lean protein till you're fucking done. And then vegetables, fruit, maybe like fructose. We still learn something about the fructose. You give yourself a little, my mentor there, he talked about that. That's one thing they were fucking up a little bit back in the day. They were scared shitless of all the fructose. Just a little bit of fructose will really murder that little bit of hunger that comes from not giving your liver that little bit of fucking like actual like simple sugar. You don't need much. And then, you have vegetables, fruit, and then your starch. And if anybody eats like that long term, they're getting lean.
I think Milos was saying like about 20 or 30% of his carbohydrates came from like simple sugars.
Yeah. Man, like I'll tell you, fuck, it's funny because we found some old clips of Milos like back in the day when there was still, because like you said, I seen a video of him, a more modern one, and he was walking on eggshells a bit with those, like, the fats. And I've seen interviews with bodybuilders, old ones, when the fucking stupid fat craze started blowing up. And they literally, the interviewer was asking the bodybuilders, like, I think it was even like Levrone. And the Levrone says to the interviewers, like, yeah, there's no fat in that diet. He's like, doesn't say it like with authority. He's like being a nice guy. Like, Kevin's pretty nice guy. Listen to him. He's like, yeah, there's no fat in the diet. It's just, I eat lean meat and starch. And, the same as with Jay. It's like, bodybuilders, we don't count shit. We just eat lean protein and fucking carbs and watch the fat, right? But then the interviewer's like, says to Kevin, it was like, yeah, but you get in your healthy fats, right? And then Kevin's like, yeah. You know what I mean? He entertained it. You know right. Where that comes from? because it's so pro-fat now, because all the bullshit, I think some of these fucking bodybuilding, especially the ones that have a presence on social media, they're scared to demonize fat because it makes them look radical. And that's where I come in because I don't give a fuck about shit, right? So, but you know what I mean? They're literally scared to say you don't need a gram of fucking fat in that diet as long as you get in your actual lean fish. Like the grams are talking is like in like single, like low numbers, right? It's like whatever's in the meat. That's it. You never had oil out in the nature. Like people just can't get this through their heads. Coconut oil, like how in the fuck you gonna get coconut oil back like 300 years ago? If you burn 10,000 calories just cracking the fucking coconuts, you know? Or like now, even when I was younger and you were younger, there's no shelled almonds and shit. Like all these people are like, oh, these healthy nuts. You had them at Christmas, you had to crack them with a fucking nutcracker. And you were lucky to even have nuts. There's no nuts out in nature out here. You have to, those are special shipped, right? And then the fatty meat didn't exist. Like a fucking domesticated cow. A domesticated cow, if you throw it out in the woods overnight, it's fucking dead by wolves. Like, fuck off. Like, none of this fatty meat exists in nature unless you're in the ocean. And that's a whole nother thing because now you're in cold water. You got like orcas that are eating like fucking seals and shit. Land animals, whole different conversation. And you can see with the lions and the carnivores on the land, they're all eating, it's all lean game. Lean as fuck. And anybody wants to argue that's just they're just fucking delusional. They're city slickers. They're fucking city slickers that don't know shit.